Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest James, the Science Toolboy.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas and today we're going to look at the events of the Ionian Revolt. So previously on Stupid Ancient History we looked at Aristagoras and his failed attempt to invade Naxos.
Which was not exactly a huge success.
No.
We also covered how Hysterius, the previous tyrant of Miletus, had suggested to him that he revolt so Hysterius could leave Susa and the watchful gaze of Darius.
So there's nothing quite like sending a secret message on a slave's head, though, is there, James?
No. It's the only way I'm going to communicate from now on.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Email is dead, tattooed heads.
I mean, all this concern about Huawei and like secrecy online, just tattoo it on a person and send them on their way.
A funky pigeon are missing a trick, aren't they? This could be a new way of
Tattooing it on
sending
someone.
a greetings card message to someone.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Now revolt against Darius. So we also covered the very precarious situation Aristagoras had put himself in, suggesting a revolt against Darius.
Because we all kind of know how that ends.
Yeah.
Not normally great.
So we've heard quite a bit about how Darius acts.
Yeah.
When people don't do what he wants.
When people challenge him.
Is he really going to go and take him on?
Well.
So the gloves are off. He's ready to pounce. So not being kind of as stupid as he seems.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems pretty stupid up until this point.
He does, but you should never judge someone, just on the
Actions.
I mean, you should. That's the only thing you can judge someone on.
Well, anyway, Aristagoras decided that he would need some significant support if the Ionian states were to rebel.
Okay.
The Greeks.
The Greeks. So Aristagoras set sail and heads to the most powerful Greek state at the time, the head of the Peloponnesian League and the all-round war nutters, which are, Mr. Midgley? Sparta.
Ah, okay.
So when he arrives in Sparta, Aristagoras is met by the king of Sparta at that time, a guy called Cleomenes, and Aristagoras puts his case forward. You'd think straightforward, there's going to be a scrap. You lads seem to be into that kind of thing. Come and have a scrap with us. But according to Herodotus, it's actually the king's 8-year-old daughter who's in this meeting as well, a girl called Gorgo. She intervenes, saying, "Father, this foreigner will corrupt you," and Sparta actually refused to help him.
All right, I thought they were always up for a fight.
Yeah, I mean, they do have this reputation of loving a scrap and being all about scrapping. The problem with Sparta is they really don't give a monkeys about anything that happens beyond their back garden.
Right,
So
okay.
if it's outside of the Peloponnese, it could be on fire for all they care. But as soon as it comes closer, then they get involved. So the idea is, it's a long way away. Spartans don't really do boats. They don't want to travel for a scrap when they could probably find someone much closer to home to impale on various
Or
things.
just fight each other. I mean, that would be the easiest.
Well, that's what they call school. So, yeah, the idea is it's too far away. It's a bit of an effort getting there. You don't want to be on a boat with a load of Spartans going, "Are we nearly there yet?"
So they are kind of war-hungry and bloodthirsty, but they're lazy travellers. They don't like the commute.
They like the fight, but not the commute. That's a really good summation of Sparta.
So then is that it? Is that over? So you just give up?
Not quite. So not being put off by Sparta's unwillingness to help, his next stop on Aristagoras' little tour of Greece is Athens.
This is may just be pop culture feeding me, but are they more seen as the philosophers, and are they warlike as well, or?
Well, they like philosophy and plays and vases,
but there's something else which is quite important at this point, which is that Athens are emerging as a key rival of Sparta.
Okay. So
Aristagoras kind of knows this, and he's kind of using this to his advantage. So this is something that he wants to exploit. So they're also starting to kind of spread their wings and are looking to expand their kind of sphere of influence. So they want to become more powerful and want to become more dominant.
Okay.
Yes, if you think of at the time Sparta are the established power in Greece, but they're getting a bit lazy.
They don't like to
They
travel.
don't like to travel.
Is this something linked with the Ionian League? Are they both in the Ionian League, or am I
They
thinking
later
of
become
something?
part of the Hellenic League. That's an entirely different podcast.
Okay.
But no, at this point they are becoming rivals. Sparta
Okay.
are the kind of lazy dominant force. Athens are the
The
cool.
plucky up and comers.
Yeah, they're the up and coming underdogs. But they also, I mean, most of these Ionian settlers in these Ionian states were originally Athenian.
Right. Okay.
So that's how the Greeks ended up over there.
So-
The Athenians, the population grew and they sent them all off overseas.
So you've kind of spoken about how the Ionian Greeks, they live in Turkey, but they're
Yeah.
culturally Greek. How do other Greeks view them? Do they see them as being Persian or Greek, or again like a mid-ground?
Somewhere, well, the Greeks don't like Greeks.
Oh right.
So
Okay. Why would they?
if they hate the Greeks more than other Greeks, and the Athenians at this point, they see them as an ally, and
Okay.
it depends on the circumstance. So in this circumstance, they choose to acknowledge that yes, they are all sons of Athens, and you know there are people too, because it plays to their interests.
Hmm.
At other points, they sometimes change the tack and go, well, we'll fight them anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's Athens' attempt to expand. They see this as the obvious next step, the Ionian states.
At this point, are they big enough where they can annoy Persia?
Well, they've already previously annoyed Persia. Well, Persia have annoyed them. So when the Athenians kicked out their oligarchs, when they had the democratic revolution, they all rocked off to Persia and set up there. So the Athenians are kind of like,
Okay.
they've got their own axe to grind. Excuse me. So when he arrives in Athens, Aristagoras sets about convincing the Athenian assembly. And it seems it's easier to convince a group of people than it is one king.
And his little daughter.
And his little daughter. I mean, don't mess with Gorgo, she is awesome. So you're right, in Athens, he starts convincing the assembly, and it works. The Athenians, partly because of the reasons we've mentioned before, but partly because Aristagoras offers them this awesome deal, they send 20 warships and troops to help Aristagoras under the command of their best general they've got at the time, a guy called Miltiades.
Okay.
So they're all in. They're sending ships, troops, the lot. And these ships set sail. But Herodotus actually tells us, there's a direct quote, he says, these ships were the beginning of the evils for Greeks and barbarians.
Okay.
So he doesn't think it was such a good idea. It kind of leads to other wars later.
Okay.
But yeah, this is the first point really of the Athenians poking the Persian Empire.
So now he's got his ships. What happens?
So as soon as the Athenians land in Miletus, the revolt starts in earnest in 498 BC. So the combined Ionian and Greek forces are now joined by 5 ships from Eretria, and they attack Sardis.
Where's Eretria?
It's a little Greek state just
Okay.
north of Athens.
More Greeks again.
More Greeks.
More Greeks. So either through surprise or through military skill, we're not sure, they capture Sardis, which is the regional capital and the home of the satrap Artaphernes, and they burn it to the ground.
All right. So bold move.
Yeah,
right
not
from the
even
start.
for
Absolutely.
discussion. They want a bonfire.
Yeah, they burn it to the ground, including a temple as well. And it seems that one of the Lydian gods.
Okay.
But it's this burning of a temple. It seems that's the thing that really annoys Darius.
So, even though he's kind of established his state religion,
Yeah.
Ahura Mazda, he's still annoyed they burned this
Yeah,
temple.
you don't go around burning temples under Darius's watch.
Okay.
He's not having it. So it's almost like a little bit of Cyrus is still knocking about, but with a harsh edge. He doesn't forgive you. But I mean, this victory though is really, really short-lived. As shortly after they've sacked Sardis, they've burnt it to the ground. As they retreat, they're travelling back to the coast. The Greek forces are attacked and easily defeated by skilled Persian cavalry at the Battle of Ephesus.
Okay. They like the horses, the Persians.
They
so.
do. They are renowned as skilled.
Don't
Stop.
We know they like their horses.
Oh.
Yeah, the Persians' main weapon, their best weapon, is their cavalry. They are skilled cavalry, and they easily defeat these slow-moving Greeks. So this puts the wind right up the Athenians, and they get back on the ships and sail off back to Greece.
Oh.
That's it. They've done their bit. They're off.
So
See you later, lads.
they burned the city / temple to ground, got beat, then have legged it.
Yeah,
Okay.
not in for the long haul, really. Even though the Greeks have abandoned them, the Ionian Revolt though spreads right the way up the coastline, right the way up to the Hellespont in the north, and even beyond the coastline, so it spreads to Cyprus, which at the time is kind of a key naval base.
So they just keep rolling with it. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't back down because they've lost their
Well,
allies.
The traction's there. It's almost like if they want to, they can't stop it, because everyone's now getting involved and going, oh yeah, maybe the Athenians will come and help us. No. But that being said, the Greeks, the Athenians, have not got off lightly, even though they've legged it. Finding out what's happened in Sardis, Darius, when he finds out back at his palace, he shoots an arrow in the air and asks Ahura Mazda to help him punish them. He also, because he's not taking this lightly, he also instructs a slave to say to him 3 times, whenever he sits down for a meal, he has to say to him, Master, remember the Athenians.
Oh my! So he's really.
I mean,
he really wants someone to remind him to hold a grudge.
3 times a meal and 3 meals a day. So he's not letting this go.
What about snacks?
just imagine that every grape you pluck up, like Master.
3 times. Remember the Athenians. At one point, at some point, he's going right. Enough. I'm just going to go and somehow. But he's not letting this go. It's quite an ominous. Remember the Athenians.
Yeah.
So Darius also plants the blame kind of firmly at Aristagoras' feet, and he summons Hystaius.
I was going to ask that. Hystaius, is he still?
He's still in Susa.
He's still in Susa.
Still waiting to be sent back.
Right. Okay. Does he have any idea this is all snowballed out of control?
I think he's probably got an idea.
Right. Okay.
So Hystaius, however, suggests that the cause of the revolt was because he himself was in Susa, and if he was there, nothing would have happened. So he's basically putting the blame back on
Aristagoras.
onto Aristagoras, isn't it? And kind of onto Darius as well.
Yeah.
Because he's saying, if you didn't keep me hostage, prisoner, whatever, then
advisor,
this wouldn't have happened. Yeah. So his plan is to be sent back as the tyrant of Miletus, and it seems to work.
Oh.
So he's sticking to his original plan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to end well for everyone, but it might end well for him.
Okay.
So, Hystaius' plans and machinations aside, Darius dispatches 3 armies to go and crush the revolt.
So he's not happy to just send him to go, you go sort this out, you'll calm that immediately just by being there.
Not 1 army, not 2 armies, 3
armies.
And the tide definitely starts to turn against the Ionians, as if these 3 armies aren't enough. In 497 BCE, they fail to help Cyprus, who's started revolting. Because they're seen as such a key naval station, the Persians are keen to get it back. The Ionians basically hang them out to dry and don't get there in time to save them. So this seriously weakens the Ionians' ability to do much else. The Persians also are starting to push the rebels back from the Hellespont in the north and moving south towards Miletus.
Okay.
So it is literally this massive Persian steamroller.
Yeah.
Starting at the top, working the way down, on the way to Miletus.
So is he kind of saving them for last then?
He's saving them for last.
Because I'm guessing if they're on a coastline, I'm guessing they've got very long or quite narrow
it's
territory.
it's a long, narrow stretch. So they start at one end and work their way down.
Okay.
All the way going, Miletus, we're coming for you. And then as soon as Hystaius does arrive in Ionia, rather than saying what he was going to do and what he said he was going to do to Darius, he instantly switches sides and joins in the revolt.
But on the flip side, Aristagoras flees to Thrace, where shortly after arriving there, he's killed.
It's all going amazingly well for them.
Absolutely.
Why is he killed when he gets to Thrace?
Because Thrace is technically Persian territory.
Right, and they see what's happening and think, we want no part of this.
Well, also, I mean, if he turns up and says, "Hi, I'm Aristagoras of Miletus," everyone's like, "I've heard the fella's after your head." He might pay us quite handsomely for that.
Why would you go to somewhere that you know is a Persian stronghold? Isn't that just stupid on his part, just bad planning?
We've established Aristagoras is not one for thinking things through.
I know, but when it's the likelihood you're going to get your head chopped off, then you just thought you might have thought about it a little bit better.
Little bit, yes, but no.
No, apparently not. So he goes to Thrace, loses his head. The end of him.
Oh no.
But not the revolt.
Not the revolt, and
they're still well in it.
Okay, they're not backing down still.
Well, they can't really. They're kind of stuck. He's caused all this and then just gone, right, I'm off. See you later. Sound familiar?
Cameron!
Oh.
So by 494, it kind of seems the revolt and the counter-attack has reached a stalemate. So no one's going anywhere,
No.
basically.
No, both sides begin preparing in earnest for a naval battle that it looks like is going to take place around the island of Lade. And one of the preparations for this battle seems to be a meeting between the Persian leaders and the Ionian leaders, in which the Persians give the following message.
Men of Ionia, now is the time for you to show yourselves true servants of the king. Each of you must do his best to detach his own countrymen from the Ionian alliance. Make your proposals to them and promise that, if they abandon their allies, there will be no disagreeable consequences for them. I don't believe that for a minute. We will not set fire to their houses or their temples, or treat them with any greater harshness than before this trouble occurred. If, however, they refuse and insist upon fighting, then you must resort to threats and say exactly what we will do to them. Tell them, that is, that when they are beaten, they will be sold as slaves. Their boys will be made eunuchs, nice, their girls carried off to Bactria, and their land given to others. Lovely.
Pretty clear message. Although as soon as you say to someone like, "Oh, I'm definitely, do what I say, and I'm not going to burn your house down." The fact you've mentioned that means that you definitely are going to do it.
Yes, but I mean, as if I was a teenage boy, then I'd be thinking, yeah, but they didn't mention in the first bit the fact that they were going to chop off my bits.
No.
So I think maybe we should make a deal with them.
What?
That's what I'd be going
They
for.
said they're going to enslave them. Boys be eunuchs. What's Bactria?
Bactria it's modern day Afghanistan. It's kind of the far eastern reaches of the Persian Empire.
Okay.
It seems a bit of a kind of rough and ready place. It's
Okay.
not where you necessarily want to go on holiday
Okay.
or send your daughters to.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, clearly the Persians are
They've
laying it on thick and fast.
Yeah.
So I mean, also it seems alongside this, shall we say, gentle suggestion, it seems that from some of the Persian evidence, the Persians are paying significant chunks of money to some of the Ionians to desert.
okay.
So they're giving them the kind of the hard sell and sweetening the deal with chunks of cash. And clearly it works.
Okay.
You know, the idea of being castrated and burnt and
And sold into slavery.
yeah, you've got on one hand castrated, slavery, burn, large chunks of cash, and you get to go home early.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works. So the two forces face off, one by one, the Persian fleet lines up, the Ionian fleet lines up, and then one by one the Ionians suddenly start drifting off. Just kind of like, oh, what's that? Oh, sorry lads, I think I left the kettle on. And the Ionian fleet slowly starts to disperse. And it's such a chaotic sight that not even Herodotus is sure what happened, because he says,
I cannot relate for certain which of the Ionian contingents fought well and which fought ill, for the reports are confused, everybody blaming everybody else.
So we've got no idea what's happening.
No idea.
and obviously this Ionian alliance is really strong, you know, fighting to the end or
Yeah.
until someone pays them off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, following the collapse of the Ionian alliance at Lade, the rest soon fell by the wayside.
Not surprising.
Not a
no.
shocker.
So by 493, the Persians finally laid siege to and sacked Miletus. And because this is where Darius sees as the origin of this trouble, their treatment was much harsher, it seems, than other Ionian states. You know, we know Darius certainly likes sending a message.
Yeah.
And Herodotus says,
Most of the men were killed by the Persians, the women and children were made slaves, and the temple at Didymar, both shrine and oracle, was plundered and burnt. The men in the city who were captured alive were sent as prisoners to Susa. Darius did them no harm and settled them in Ampi on the Persian Gulf.
Oh.
so some of them get off all right.
Yeah, some of them get them right, but for also other bits, it seems like he was a man of his word.
Yeah, he's not messing around. Miletus is burnt, it's repopulated with loyal Persians. It's not ended well
Okay.
for the revolt. So yeah, after a brief flurry of excitement, with this Ionian Revolt, the Persian army firmly retake control of the region.
What happened to Hysterius then?
Hysterius. Well, Hysterius, taking the lead from Aristagoras, he flees to Thrace,
Why?
but was captured.
Of course he
Pretty
was!
stupid, aren't they?
Well, Thrace is, at the point, Thrace is still seen as a bit of a wild territory. It's recently under Persian
Did he not
control.
hear what happened to his nephew?
Yeah, no.
Well, maybe he thought he would be better.
He could convince them not
Yeah,
to dob him
it's
in.
Hysterius after all. But yeah, it's a bit of a wild territory. They reckon they can basically buy the way through Thrace into kind of the Balkans.
Okay.
So he flees to Thrace, but he's captured. But he's still trying to play it, a bit cool. When he's captured, he has to be sent to Darius alive, thinking that Darius would pardon him.
Is this like a bit of thinking a bit of Cyrus would come
Yeah, and also Hysterius hasn't openly defied Darius. He's sort of gone onto the Ionian side, but not made a big deal out of it. He just kind of disappeared. So he could always go back and go, "Oh, I was working for you the whole time." But obviously, when he's captured, it's Artaphernes who captures him, and his general, a guy called Harpagus, not the Harpagus from before.
Okay.
They know exactly what's going on, and they have other ideas.
So, Herodotus says, as soon as he reached Sardis, he was impaled.
Oh.
His head was cut off, mummified, and sent to Darius in Susa.
So, it didn't go to plan for him then?
No,
Ew.
no.
So, Darius, when he learned what Artaphernes and Harpagus had done, was angry with them for not bringing Hysterius to him alive. He gave orders for the head to be washed and tended, and buried with all the honour due to a man who had done good service to Persia and the king. So ends the story of Hysterius.
Right, so it's a bit hard to tell how he actually felt about him.
Yeah. Darius was concerned about him earlier, but Hysterius seems to have done a number on him,
Yeah.
convinced Darius that he's great.
It's a bit
Right,
like,
okay.
slightly different circumstances, but it's the same kind of idea as what we see between like Pompey, isn't it, and Caesar. That
Yeah.
Pompey's killed and like Caesar's kind of
Angry.
glad that he's killed, but also outraged
Oh,
at the
where,
way
like,
that he's been killed.
Ptolemy brings his head in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he doesn't go down well. It's that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you've not treated him very well, even though, yeah, he probably did deserve to die, but
But he was noble, so
it should have been done in a better way.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
But then
Yeah.
we see a different side to Darius. We've got the harsh punishment for those who openly defy him, but if you can pull the wool over his eyes,
He's quite friendly to you.
yeah.
Did the Persians mummify?
Not particularly, not as like a burial practice.
Okay.
But it was just, I guess the mummification would just be drying it out so it didn't start smelling bad when Darius opens the box.
Right, okay.
So we need to think, don't we, about could the revolt ever really have succeeded?
Well,
It's a bit of a, I don't know.
it would be a tall order,
Yeah,
but really I guess it depends on what they wanted to achieve in the first place.
I mean, in terms of manpower, if you've got all of the Greek states going against Persia, are the armies quite evenly matched, or is there a
the
massive
Persians
difference
still massively outnumber them.
So, if you're thinking about it in terms of just sheer kind of manpower
and
then,
logistics.
then it's probably never going to work, is it? The
No,
Persians are
not-
always going to have the upper hand.
Not in this instance, definitely not without, I mean, it didn't have the back of Sparta. It had sort of the backing of Athens.
Until they got someone looked at them wrong and they
Yeah,
ran
they
away.
ran off home. But yeah, a military breakaway at this point would always be doomed to fail without the support. It's whether or not that was the full intention of what they wanted, or whether they did want just to make Darius re-aware of how valuable they were, whether it was Hysterius' plan to get reasserted. In that case, it may well have succeeded. Little revolt, we're a bit grumpy, do something nice to us and we'll be your friends. That would have worked, but a full-scale revolt.
I suppose the other thing as well, if you've got kind of one leader, haven't you, that's leading one country, it's a lot easier to kind of amalgamate everyone together and to get them fired up for a fight, as opposed to having lots of different like city-states and little places that have ruled kind of more independently, because you've got all of those different people with their different desires and the outcomes they want to see, and you've got to try and get all of them on board to fight together. It's more difficult.
I was going to ask, like, kind of, you said this kind of, continued up the coast and it kind of, just became its own thing almost. All these other city-states that were revolting, were they going to come under the rule of, what's his face?
Aristagoras in his days.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
Well, that's it. So,
because the other thing the Ionian Revolt really highlights is this problem with using the idea of the Greeks at the time, because they will sell each other out as soon as look at each other. If there's anyone you cannot rely on, it seems, in this period of time in an alliance, it's the Greeks.
Right, okay.
They speak the same language, they worship the same gods, but they hate each other.
Right, okay.
So they'll join in when it suits them, but as soon as there's any kind of problem, as we saw at the Battle of Lade, that's it. They're like, no, see you later, mate.
I'm off.
There's no loyalty necessarily between these people. So again, another reason why it was unlikely to succeed, because it's highly unlikely that those Ionian states would stay as a unified group for anything more than 10 minutes.
You're right.
And then, I mean, the other thing you've got to remember is it's not some flimsy leader they're going against. Even Cambyses would have been easier to revolt against, because he'd probably just think it was a cat's fault and stab that. This is Darius, and this is Darius at the height of his control. There's no slipping away from him.
I guess he also has to make an example of them as well.
Well, that's his. That's what he does, isn't it? That's his MO. You make a move against Darius, and bad things happen to you. But interestingly, as well, with this, we also see the kind of forgiving side of Darius in little snippets.
At the end, in particular.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you rebelled against me, but you're all right. But everyone else must be turned into eunuchs.
But it's easy to kind of forget, especially like with Histiaeus. It's easy to forgive, isn't it, when they're already dead? So it's like, does he really care about him, or is he just doing that because it's a good piece of PR for him, and it makes him look a little bit better? We've got no way of knowing whether that's his true feeling or it's just kind of a show.
What ultimately happened with those Ionians that he resettled? Were they just
They were just there.
They were just there. Were they happy? Did they?
I think it's
significant later on or anything.
We don't really know much about what happens to him next, but it's more the idea of his moving them out of the Ionian states, so they're in somewhere new where they don't have ties or links, and they can't foment another revolt.
Right. Okay.
So they're sort of out on a limb, new, unfamiliar territory, less confident, less bold, more willing to do what Darius wants.
Okay.
There we go. So there you have it, a nice quick look at the highly successful events of the Ionian Revolt. Thank you for listening. We hope this has been helpful. Leave us a comment below, and until next time,
bye.
Bye.